All right, so I am so thrilled to announce Jamie Dobay as our guest this week. Jamie, thanks for joining.
Oh, not a problem. How are you doing? I'm happy to be here.
I'm good. So give us a little background. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
I'm 43 years old. I currently reside in West Palm Beach, Florida. I've been all over the place. Was born in Ohio, grew up in Florida, and then lived in Chicago for 26 years. Came back home last July for about 3 weeks, it was supposed to be, and I just fell in love with being home and the weather, and I never went back.
And
Currently, I do a few different things, but no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we were just chatting. So Jamie's sitting in West Palm Beach, sunny, warm day, and I'm in Denver, snowing outside, but it's all good. Go ahead.
So yeah, just I currently am involved in a few different businesses, ranging from health companies to travel companies, things like that. But what I'm most proud of and what I love doing is I get to work for Tony Robbins. It's an amazing blessing to get to help other people just kind of become the best version of themselves possible. You know, we're all made for greatness, and I just love to visit with people and teach them how they can move towards that greatness and that they can achieve anything that they set their mind to. It's just basically we gotta work on ourselves to become the best version of ourselves in order to serve other people in this world.
And that's actually how Jamie and I met. It was in November of 2017 at my first Unleash the Power Within Tony's conference, because you were my sales ticket represent. So I think we could honestly sit here and talk for hours about Tony and his message and growth and values. And but I want to dive in a little more. I know you have several different companies going on, and when we talked prior, you told me that the three things that kind of push you is growth, travel, and helping others. So maybe if you could dive in a little more on those three topics.
Sure. Wow, talking about growth is just, that goes back to, working on becoming the best version of ourselves, and not only for myself, but in order to serve and help other people. It's something that I learned through some of the companies I'm involved with. I got started with personal development then and got involved with Tony. And for me personally, there's been tremendous changes over the past few years. Just being able to help positively to influence other people and becoming that better version of themselves. When it comes to travel, that's one of the companies I'm involved with. I'm in the travel space. I love to be on the road, but on vacation, not working. But I teach people how to, go see the world, and just, life was meant to be lived, not, looked at on a computer. So that's one of the things I'm passionate about. I love to help people travel, love to talk to people about, places to go, things to do when you go to certain places. That's certainly one of the big things I'm involved with. So I definitely get a smile every time we could talk about travel. We could talk about that for days too. And I know you got your trips, you got your big plans for 2018. So it's just something that everybody should get out there and do more of, whether it's by themselves, whether it's with family and friends. It's just a lot of fun to go explore the world.
I agree. I want to go back to when you said for the growth that you like to help influence others. So what are your means of doing that?
So when we talk about influencing others, it's not, sometimes people hear influence and they think like you're manipulating somebody, but all you're doing is, we learn how to, through our thoughts and through our processes of learning how to let go of fear and learning how to let go of, beating ourselves up about, when things don't go our way. Everybody has challenges in life. No matter what we do, no matter what day it is, there's always going to be things that come up in our life. What we have to teach ourselves to do and practice at is learning to acknowledge those things when they come at us, but then coming up with solutions. We could sit there and everybody could talk about their problems all day long because they come up for all of us and we all have them. So for some people it's different. If you have families, it could be different than if you're single or vice versa. But there's ways that we learn to compartmentalize or actually bring in the information, acknowledge it, basically thank it for that lesson that it's giving us. But then we learn to problem solve and grow and move forward and advance our lives.
So what I got out of that last part you said is having that state of gratitude, right? Like not playing victim, but being grateful for every experience, every lesson, problem, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. Always living in a beautiful state as often as possible. And when we get out of that state, have our trigger to be able to get us back in that state and get our mental capacity back in the right place of being happy and being in a state of gratitude. You can't, if you live in gratitude, you can't be fearful of anything. So if you just constantly live in a state of gratitude, life is going to be amazing for you.
So what do you do when, because I know I experience fear in all sorts of different ways, but when you experience fear, if it's holding you back, fear of failure, success, unknown, what do you do to bust through that block?
I believe in action is the way you get over any fear. I can give you a huge example. Business is business, but I have a huge example in life is I was afraid of heights. So what I started doing is things that you would have never thought that I would like to do. We zip lined like 800 feet up over canyons. Then I would, skydive or jump off of like high diving boards, like higher than just your normal flat diving board at a pool, things like that. So I just started doing things that challenged me to overcome fear, because all it is really is it's just a mental block that we put on ourselves that at some point in our lives was ingrained in us that that's supposed to scare us, when it really is just something that if you embrace it, it's actually enjoyable. I mean, now every time we go somewhere, anytime I find zip lines anywhere where I'm on vacation, we go. And I absolutely love it now. And I've turned it into something that the experience of being afraid of it has allowed me to conquer that. And then by conquering that, it allows me to look at other things. If it's business, if you need to make so many calls a day or whatever that is, the only way to get through it is pick up the phone and call somebody. If you've never put yourself out, on social media, if you're somebody that needs to have a presence, you got to get out there and do it. It may look silly in the beginning, but the only way you get better is by doing things. So the only way for me to overcome fear, I believe, is just start taking action. Find something that's going to get you moving past that fear and just continue to take action and repeat that process until it no longer becomes a fear, but it becomes a strength.
I agree. And speaking of that, on the social media aspect, when I did my first few Facebook Lives, I hated it. I felt rehearsed. I jumbled my words. It was painful. And then I got through that fear and I busted through. And then now I'm doing podcast and video interviews. And being able to bust through that fear it's a feeling of accomplishment, I think.
Absolutely. If I can just expand on that a little bit, the other thing you have to do when you do break through fear or you do something like that, one thing that a lot of us don't do, that's another thing that I would implore people to do, is if you set goals or you set things or something that you're afraid of, or, you get through a fear, don't be afraid to reward yourself with something. And it could be it could be as little as, hey, I don't normally eat ice cream, I'm going to go have ice cream. Or take yourself, the one thing we don't do enough of is we don't acknowledge ourselves, and not in an ego sense, but when you do something and you accomplish something, it's okay to reward yourself for accomplishing that. It's not like, okay, I did that, on to the next thing. We're allowed to stop and celebrate the victories when little things like that happen, when you overcome stuff, or when you reach a new goal or get a new position at a job that you've been shooting for, anything like that. Just don't forget to reward ourselves a little bit when it comes to that stuff. Very important to keep ourselves in the right state and to keep ourselves in gratitude. Like you said, it's okay to reward ourselves. That's not a bad thing.
Oh, I think that's a huge point. I was actually talking to a friend of mine earlier today. She's a single mom, an entrepreneur, balancing a ton of different things. And I asked her point blank, when do you take time out for you? When do you do something for you? And I don't, I'm sure it happens with men too, but it seems it's very much a woman thing that they're always giving to others, and then they kind of forget to give to themselves. So I like that, rewarding yourself for even the small wins, right?
Absolutely.
Another thing, so we both attended Date with Destiny in December of 2017, another Tony Robbins event. And I know from conversations you and I have had in the past, we both realized that our values weren't in line with where we wanted to be. So I wondered if you wanted to discuss what you learned from that value exercise, what you value now, and maybe some goals for 2018.
I'd love to share. Date with Destiny was one of the most eye-opening and life-changing experiences I've ever been through. We're always going to continue to learn and grow. I feel that was a point of growth for me that's going to be exponential moving forward in my life, not only in the goal setting and the values. Obviously there's stuff, that relationship, that I won't get into detail on that, but there's just so many things that came out of that were tremendous. But the values that you're talking about, it was amazing because, he had us make a value list, but then we give rules to the values. And I'll just share that for time's sake, my number one value at the time was success. And to just give you an idea, without even having to list everything else underneath it, it was restricting everything I did, because the number one rule was, if I don't succeed, I'm basically a failure. And it was, make a 5-figure income a month. If you don't, you're a failure. Achieve this goal. If you don't, you're, in the end, everything was pushing towards, if I didn't do something, then I was basically a failure. Well, try putting that in your head on a constant basis, on a daily basis, a monthly basis, a yearly basis, and realize that those rules are actually restricting you and not allowing you to grow. And I did have, at the bottom for me was love, because I really felt that when I did get it, it was almost a thing. It was like you did things to get it back, and you expected people to give it back to you, instead of just basically giving of yourself and not expecting anything in return. And what happened for me in our goals is, what I learned is that success actually came off of my board, because as I redid my new rules and I put love at the top of my list, success disappeared, because it's no longer a rule for me, because success is opening my eyes every morning, thanking God for the day, and just putting my 2 feet on the floor. And that's my idea of success. And that makes it so much easier to focus and have intention for the day, because I'm not waking up going, oh my goodness, if I don't do this or reach this goal, then I'm a failure. Now it's just, look, I have this day. Now let's enjoy it, and let's live it, and let's live in gratitude. And with love, it's simple for me now. It's just that I see the beauty in all things. This conversation with us, to me, this is love. We're connecting, but we're connecting. So any connection with anybody, just anybody giving, or me giving to them, just giving them something for the day, a smile, a hug, a hello, that's love. And to me, if you can agree, that's pretty easy to do. So that's why it's my number one value, is just when you feel that love and connection with other people, then you're going to feel good about yourself, but you're also serving others and giving something back to them, maybe brighten their day when you don't know what they're going through.
I even love the power of a high five. I used to go down, when I worked in corporate, I was a girl going down hallways just giving free high fives. And it's that small human connection that, people just lit up. Or even when a stranger passes me on the street and just smiles at me, I'm like, that is so kind. And it didn't cost a thing.
Absolutely.
So we're only a month removed from Date with Destiny and you changing your values to love. What have you noticed in even just that short period of time? What has changed for you?
I've been attracting the right type of people into my life, and not just in like relationships as far as dating, but also just in business relationships, and the people that I'm now spending time with in the last month, the people that I'm communicating with. It's been a drastic change. And as I said, by taking success off and putting love at the top, it's actually been a relief. And it's also created a different energy that I haven't had in a long time. And it's been, for me, it's been awesome. And I know you mentioned some of the goals for this year, and some of my personal goals, whether people understand or don't understand, I have some things I want to do financially. One of the top things I want to do, and I say this publicly because then everybody can hold me accountable, is my goal is to retire my parents at the end of this year. I've been working on it for a few years, and this was the year after Date with Destiny. The switch has been flipped that I'm just going to get it done. I don't need to go into details of why. I know some people say, you know, that's their responsibility, this, that, whatever. There's a lot of backstory to a lot of it that I want people to understand that it's something that I'm doing, but I'm doing it for the right reasons. And I know I am. And before I was causing stress by having to do it. Now I'm doing it for positive reasons. The other thing is I've worked on my health. I've had a few injuries working out the last couple of years. My goal is to get back under 12% body fat by the end of the year. I used to be an athlete. There's no reason for me not to be in shape. And the goal is there really because we have to be healthy and vital. This goes back to serving other people. The more healthy we are, the longer we're going to be here, the more we can help people because we're not sick. We're not doing, you know, we have the energy we need to do that. And the last thing that I'm doing this year is I passed on a trip to Guatemala. We go build bottle schools there, and I chose to go to Date with Destiny. It was the best decision ever. Date with Destiny is once a year. Guatemala, I can pick any week out of the year and take 25 people and go. And so my goal is I already made an agreement with the gentlemen that run the organization that I promised them that I would lead a trip for them this year because I owe it to them, and they're a great group of people. I've been down there 4 times over the last 3 years. So it's something else I'm going to do because I love to give back. And if anybody's never been to, you don't have to go to Guatemala, go to any third world country, go to an orphanage, go to a shelter, and just go visit with those people. And it's a very humbling, but very enriching experience to go see, you know, how blessed we are to be where we're at and to be in any position we're at, especially in our country, but all over the world. If you're not in a third world country like that, it's just very eye-opening and very warming to see how much that they provide support for each other. And what they're all about is just love, connection, and family. And it's such an amazing thing to see that they don't have to have material things. They have each other, and they live amazing lives. So I would encourage you to go check something like that out when you go on vacation. Go volunteer somewhere. Go take a day and visit places where they could use your help. And they'll trust me, they'll appreciate it, but you'll get more out of it than you ever imagine.
I totally agree. And actually, that's something I've put on my list for 2018 is I want to do more volunteer opportunities, whether it's even just Sunday going to the Denver homeless shelter serving, you know, their lunch or whatever it may be. But that giving back, I think, is more fulfilling than any material object. So that's
I could not agree without a doubt.
Yes. Okay, so I have some rapid fire questions for you. You can't think about it. The first thought that comes to your mind, you have to respond with.
Fair enough.
Okay, ready? Let's see. First one, 2018 is the year of fill in the blank.
2018 is a year of growth and execution.
Nice. Your quote of the year or motto.
You can have excuses or results. You can't have both.
Is that a Tony one?
I don't even know. I've been saying it for 6 years.
Excuses or result. I like that. You're so right.
Yep.
This chapter of my life is titled
A New Beginning.
And final question for you. A question that I want to guide me is,
how can I show up in the world to serve in the greatest capacity that God will allow me to?
That is awesome. And I know by everything you're about and what we talk about that you are such a light and guiding force for others. And the more you're serving, it's so going to come back to you. But I know that's not why you're doing it.
I'm not, but thank you for the kind words. But no, it's not about me. It's about who can I help and how can I serve. And I know you're very similar in that. And that's why, I mean, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the time. You're an amazing light. We're connected for a reason. And I just appreciate you being who you are in this world for us.
Well, thank you, Jamie. If listeners want to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
People want to reach out to me. You can reach me on Facebook. My name's Jamie Dobay. It's D-O-B as in boy, A-Y. You can also reach me by email at the same email address, jamie.dobay@gmail.com. We can connect that way. I have no problem sharing my phone number at some point if that's somebody that really wants to connect. I'm here to help. If there's any questions you have about a lot of different things, please feel free to reach out. There's no hesitation. Again, if you have any similar interests that I've mentioned, there's a lot of different things that I do. So I would definitely love to connect and hear from you.
Awesome. And I'll share both of those links in the summary of the podcast, so listeners can pick it up there too.
Perfect.
Jamie, thank you so much for joining me today, and wishing you a fabulous week.
No problem. You have a great day. Thank you again for having me on.
All right.